And welcome back to this week's Who Would Win. This week's Who Would Win is a battle royale of the Pokemon variety between the three main deities of the Sinnoh region, not including Arceus or Arceus, depending on your pronunciation of that goes. Dialga, the Dragon Lord of Time, Palkia, the Dragon Lord of Space, and Giratina, Satan. Now, I do want to quickly note that there was one other Pokemon released in those Core scans. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. It's weird. This end of the table right here, because you'll notice I'm back in the better lit area of my patio. Is like about 3 feet difference between where I was over there, but I can get internet access generally fine over there. Not so much over here. It's very hit and miss over here. This is very odd. But it's essentially a sea cucumber. Sea urchin kind of looking thing. It spits out its intestines and uses it as a fist. It's a little blue, blackish blue. I'm gonna say purple. Sorry, it's a purple blob with little eyes, little mouth, little cottontail looking thing, and purple spikes. I'm thinking it's probably part poison given its coloration. But anyway, there's my thoughts on that. But we're talking about Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina. The three more or less spatial cosmic deities. And hello, Domino. Yes, hello. Oh, you thought I left the door open, didn't you? And there's Domino again. Hi, Domino. You want to be part of the video? Hey. This is Domino. Because you're a cute, adorable dog, this video gets automatically millions of hits. No. So, basically, yeah. We're doing the Pokemon Battle Royale between those three. And when looking at this, I also had to factor in several things. One, I had to factor in, obviously, their stats and their moveset. But beyond that, I actually had to figure, with Giratina particularly, it has both its origin form and base form. Its base form is a more defensive version of it, while the origin form is the more offensive. And really, all that actually entailed was switching the attack stats with the defense stats. So basically, his walking form, his standard form, is got base stats of a base defense of 120, whereas both his defenses have defenses of 120, whereas his origin form has base attack stats of 120. That's basically the difference. But also, Giratina is capable of doing things like controlling gravity to a certain extent, given the fact he lives in that inverted world. Dialga can control time, and Palkia can control space. So when you actually... they actually did fight in the movies, but it wasn't like who was going... No one actually ended up beating the other in the long run, as far as I remember. It was kind of just, all right, this fight got to a certain point. We're not going to beat each other. We're going to go back to our respective domains. Except for Giratina, who just hates everyone because he got banished for stupid reasons by Arceus. But let's get into it. So, Dialga. Dialga stands at 17 feet, 9 inches. 1,500 pounds, more or less. Give or take. He's like 505 pounds, 500 pounds, 1,500 pounds, 1,500 pounds. Now, he's a Dragon Steel type, and among them, he is probably the tankiest. He's the most physical between the three. That's certain. Because he has the highest... I'm just going to compare between him and Palkia because they're the more comparable. Between him and Palkia, he is definitely the more physically tanky because he has the higher HP at 100. They each share the same base attack, but he's got higher base defense of 120 as opposed to Palkia's 100. Palkia only has 90 HP. They both share 150 special attack stat. Palkia has better speed and better special defense, but in terms of physical attacks, he is the more tanky, I suppose you could say. He's the more physical base, being a steel type. And being a steel type, he knows such things as Metal Claw. He can learn the attack Metal Burst, which is greater damage against targets with half their I believe that is... Man, I really wrote this scratchy. Forgive me if I have to take a moment to actually read some things out. Yeah, there we go, yeah. Greater damage against target who's... I don't know. I can't remember. What was it? Reduced stats or something like that? I'm going to actually just check. I feel bad I have to do this, but I'm going to see if I'm going to see if my internet holds out first off. This right here. So far, so good. Baby. Okay, it's looking good so far. Anyway, we're going to go with the attack index. Metal Burst. Yeah, there he is. There's that little cucumber thing. So let's see here. Metal Burst. Where are you? Metal Burst. There it is, Metal Burst. All right. So what did this do again? Metal Burst. User retaliates or gets greater power against the target that last inflicted damage. Okay, so basically it does greater damage if it got hit last turn, more or less, from the opponent. Anyway, yeah, it does Metal Claw. You can raise the attack stat, basically. Metal Burst. Dragon's Claw, which is more or less just a physical attack. Aura Sphere, which is one I found that was interesting. And you know what? Since I actually have this up here, I'm more or less just going to have Dialga's overall move pool right in front of me right now. So Ancient Power / Power Gem, Metal Burst, Dragon Claw, Earth Power, Aura Sphere, very interesting one. Iron Tail, Flash Cannon, and Roar of Time. Now, going with their signature moves, Roar of Time is, bar none, the stronger of the two. There is no question about it that Roar of Time is the stronger of them. Simply, it's a special attack, which, yeah, Palkia's got the higher special defense, but it's pretty much a Hyper Beam on steroids, actually. Let's see, he can learn Hyper Beam. No, yeah, it's a dragon-type Hyper Beam, more or less. Roar Time versus Hyper Beam, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's Roar Time. It's Hyper Beam if it was a Dragon type move, and because of that, because if you go by the lore, he's able to rip time apart more or less. There's some complications that go. Now again, I think the whole issue with space and time, space kind of counteracts the effects of what happens in that scenario because of the time-space continuum, but it's very convoluted and complex. Palkia is much shorter than Dialga, though, at 13.9 and much lighter at 704 pounds, but that makes him that's why he's probably got about 10 extra on his speed. He learns the vast majority, he's a Dragon Water type, learns the vast majority of the same moves that Dialga learns, with the exception that he can learn Water Pulse, Aqua Tail. Why is Aqua Tail in there twice? Yeah, that's weird. He can learn Aqua Tail twice. He can learn at level 24 and 42. Go figure. And then he can use Spatial Rend, which is also a special base move with 900 base or 900. God, with 100 base attack and 95 accuracy. User tears through targets around the space around it. Basically, it critical hits. It's more or less Ren's space. He can more or less create a spatial divide. So again, if you recall how I've described how cutting through space and rending space works in a couple other Hoodwins, like with the Aquaman and his Triton, say that something that cuts through space cuts through my arm. It's literally it hasn't cut through my arm per se. It's cut through the dimensional space, the actual area. What's the best way to put it? The spatial dimension, everything on there. There's no way I could put the arm back. There's no way the arm could heal. There's literally that space between. That space in the cut has just been severed. There's no way to reattach that arm as long as that space is there. It is perfectly and completely cut. 100%. So that's more or less, that's a general basis of how cutting through space works, which also means that that's a very dangerous attack. That's theoretically more dangerous than the Roar of Time. The Roar of Time does more damage, and fucking with time can do a whole bunch of things. But I think they more or less counteract each other in terms of if they were to hit, because Roar of Time would have the greater power. Oh, and he can learn Hydro Pump. I forgot that one, too. He'd have the greater power in the long run, but still, in terms of the actual effects based on the physics of it, it's very debatable. But anyway, then we move on to Giratina. Giratina is the interesting one among them because he has two different forms. Again, his HP is 150 regardless, his speed stays 90 regardless. Now, that being said, depending on which form you're going on, just going with his origin form, or if you're going with his regular form. His regular form is a more defensive one at 120 each, 100 for his special attack and normal attack, and then vice versa if you're going with his origin form. Now, in terms of his attack roster, he's a Ghost Dragon type, which means he has a somewhat different roster than the rest of them. You can still learn things like Dragon Breath, Ancient Power, Slash, Dragon Claw, Earth Power, and Aura Sphere. But he knows a lot. Actually, in terms of all of them, he knows a lot more for his secondary attack. Because he learned Ominous Wind, Shadow Sneak, which is essentially a Ghost Quick attack, Destiny Bomb. If he goes down, they go down with him. Shadow Claw, Shadow Force, which is essentially his ultimate, which is user disappears, then strikes the target. It's more or less like flying. It's a ghost version of flying, but it does 120 base damage, physical attack, and it can get bypass things like protect and detect. So, very powerful attack. And then Hex, which does a massive amount of damage to a target affected by a status problem. Seeing as there is no attack among any of these guys' normal roster that can do status problems, as far as I can tell, that's not going to be an issue. So, how did this fight break down? Well, the fight probably breaks down, at least starts like this. It probably honestly starts like you saw it in the movies, where they kind of just come ripping through the dimensions, and it just, they hate each other, so shit's about to go down. Now, Palkia and Dialga are basically direct opposites. They're going to probably go for each other first, and it's probably going to be that they start off more or less with... They might just start trying to take each other out right from the get in Roar Time, Spatial Ren. Now, in terms of overall attack power, Roar Time outmatches Spatial Ren. But in terms of actual physical effects, they're going to cancel each other out. Space and time will just meld together in one coherent thing. And, Dialga is going to be going to need a moment to recharge from that, unfortunately. Palkia doesn't. Unfortunately, Palkia has also got to contend with the fact that Giratina wants to fuck some shit up. So if Giratina comes in, probably slams into Palkia, who's distracted. He probably doesn't go after Dialga because Palkia is still moving and he just wants to at least... He's a vicious guy, Giratina. He wants to fight. So he's going to go in. He's probably going to come in with a Shadow Snake, and that's how he's going to come in, too. He's going to Shadow Snake, just boom, smash into Palkia. Now Palkia is going to be like, what the fuck, dude? You want to go? Let's go. So he goes in. He probably tries to go in with a Dragon Claw. He's now, Giratina could counteract with his Dragon Claw, but I feel like he'd probably counteract with a Shadow Claw, which is actually strong. Well, no, it's actually not stronger. It's, it can land a critical hit better than a Dragon Claw can, though. So they're going to probably clash. Then, basically, because he's in Origin form right now, I would say, they're tied for physical attack. So even though the Dragon Claw's got a better attack base, they're probably going to more or less just clash. Then Dialga comes back in, probably uses Ancient Power to possibly up its stats. We'll say for the sake of sakes that maybe his stats do get upped. Strikes one of them. I'm going to say it's going to be Giratina who gets strike, because he's actually also the larger one at 14 feet 9 inches, and the heaviest at 1,653.4 pounds. So yeah, he gets hit, but it's not going to do a great deal. Now he's ticked. Now he's now he's just like, okay, now I'm pissed. Now Earth's power activates, and then probably Palkia activates his Earth's power. Dialga activates his Earth's power. So that's just a giant cataclysm of Earth's power going, and just boom, all their special defenses drop. Earth's power is a special-based attack. So basically, the one who has the lowest special-based attack at this point is probably going to be taking the most damage. So, and the one with the lowest special attack at the moment in this form would be Dialga and Palkia, or Dialga and Giratina. However, Giratina has at least a advantage that he has Levitate on his side. And Levitate negates ground effects, which is what Earth's power is. So he'd actually come out of that unscathed. Palkia probably takes the biggest hit from that, and Dialga takes the biggest hit from that. Ground is also is an effective type against steel, so that's actually going to hit Dialga pretty hard. Dialga's not done by damn, though, son. No. Dialga's now pissed. He's like, no, fuck you, Power Gem, and then that Power Gem comes and smacks into Giratina. He then charges in with probably a Iron Tail to hit Palkia. Palkia probably tries to counteract with Aqua Tail, but they're probably just going to negate each other. Well, actually, they're not going to negate each other. Because at that point, Iron Tail is a physical. They're both physical attacks, but yeah, I think honestly Dialga might have a little edge on that. I can't back that up with anything, but yeah. So Giratina is then coming back in. He decides to go back into his normal form, which is the more defense-heavy one, and then starts firing off on Aura Spheres at both of them. Just boom, 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 Aura Sphere, Aura Sphere, Aura Sphere. Now they gotta dodge a bombardment of Aura Spheres. Aura Sphere has a PP of 20, so let's say I'm actually kind of thinking of it like when Stark from Bleach did the whole cascade, basically the giant blast of Ceros, if you remember. So it's kind of gonna be like that. He's just gonna probably go all out. Well, not all out. He's probably gonna do like 10 Aura Spheres. Boo, 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 boo. All of a sudden they start getting knocked around a bit by Giratina. Just jing, jing, jing. Both Palkia and Dialga take a hit, but again, fighting to steal, it's going to do more damage to Dialga. So Dialga's now pissed. He fires a Roar Time right at freaking Giratina. Giratina uses Shadow Force to be like, nope, and then just whoop. That's where I'm seeing the difference in this fight happening, is that between all three of them, Giratina has the more versatile moveset, because when you actually look at it, he can learn 7 ghost moves naturally, whereas Palkia can learn 1, 2, 3, 4. No, just 3, because they count Aqua Tail twice. 3 water-based moves, and Dialga can learn 1, 2, 3, 4 metal-based steel-type moves. So, yeah, Giratina has the more varied moveset. So now he's got the Shadow Strike, or the Shadow Force in effect. Who he's targeting, we don't know yet. But while they're probably just like, where'd he go? Dialga is able to recover, and then he fires a Flash Cannon right into freaking Palkia's face, point blank, seeing as they're probably close to each other, and just boom, smash into Palkia. Palkia's and just reels back. Palkia is the physically weaker of the two, defensive-wise, though, and that's a physical-based attack. So that, well, no, actually, no, it's not. It's a special-based attack. Sorry, I take that back. But still, he's probably his special defense stat goes down a bit. Then he gets an Ancient Power, throws it out Dialga. Dialga's probably down. Is definitely feeling the pain at the moment. And then the Shadow Force comes in. Shadow Force being a it's a physical attack, yeah. Physical attack. Shadow Force comes and smashes into freaking Palkia, probably just out of nowhere, because right now, Dialga's probably hurting right now. He's been taking a lot of hits. But Palkia has taken some hits too, but he's generally okay. Giratina just smashes the Shadow Force right into Palkia, and Palkia goes freaking careening. Maybe fires a Spatial Rend off to try to hit Giratina, maybe clips him or something like that. Giratina definitely takes a hit, but he's still he's hitting. Dialga's now just upset and pissed. Aura Spheres. Unfortunately, it's a fighting type attack, so the Aura Spheres just pass right through Giratina. Giratina's just probably looking at this. Then he gets Ominous Wind going and just smashes Dialga around. Dialga's now in serious pain. Giratina just appears right in front of him and just looks at him for a moment. Just and an Aura Sphere right to the face, and then boom, takes down Palkia. Now you got Dialga. Now you got Palkia and Giratina. Now, Giratina still hasn't taken much damage in this fight. Giratina is kind of wants to be in the fight, but it's like a feud between Palkia and Dialga. They're just so opposite they need to attack each other. But now that Dialga's down for the count, it's now Palkia versus Giratina. And when you actually look at their stats, Giratina has the HP advantage. He has the physical attack and defense. Oh, not the physical attack, but he's got the defense advantage. Whereas Palkia has the special attack advantage and special defense advantage when he's in his origin form. I'm guessing right now that I would be expecting that if he had to meet them up in the air, that he's more or less in origin form. So right now we're dealing with origin form versus Palkia. And origin form honestly can't really stand up to Palkia, because he doesn't have anything on Palkia in terms of his attack. His defense is the exact same. His special physical attack is the exact same. The only thing he's had up is HP, so he can take the hits a few more times, but he can't dish out enough damage to really bring Palkia down in that form. So the fight basically will come down to this: whether Giratina goes into origin form, or stays in origin form, or goes into base form. If he stays in origin form, if the fight gets drawn out for too long, then it's probably going to be Palkia's win, because he'll probably just keep using Spatial. Well, I mean, Spatial Rend is interesting in that I believe, unlike Roar Time, which only has a 5 in terms of its PA. No, Spatial Rend has 5. So he's used Spatial Rend probably about twice right now, maybe 3 times. He's got 2 more. If he hits him once or twice more with Spatial Rend, Giratina goes down probably, even with all that said. However, Giratina has one trick up his sleeve left, and that'd be Destiny. If he felt he was about to be taken out by Palkia, he can simply just, the Spatial Rend. All of a sudden, this shadow just creeps up behind under Palkia as he, Spatial Rend. He sees the shadow. Palkia's eyes wide and just, and then they both just die. But, so if it's Origin form, I'm going to say it's a draw because the Destiny Bond is kind of a cop-out move. But if the base form, it's different because his base form has its defense is actually better in base form than it is for his in Origin form, and it actually beats out Palkia's overall defense. So, what's interesting about that is that he'll be able to take more hits and be able to dish out more damage. He can use a Shadow Claw, he can use Dragon Claw, Dragon Breath. He can continue to use all of his basic attacks that can hurt Palkia. And I think he honestly will outlast Palkia in that regard and eventually take the win, probably with another Shadow Force or maybe Earth Power, Dragon Claw, something along those lines. So, in the end of the day, I think it ends up either being a knockout tie between Palkia and let's be clear, I took Diamond over Pearl when I got the Gen 4 games. So I actually like Dialga over Palkia, but if I were to actually say who's going to win in these overall fights, I'm probably going to have to give it to Palkia. Is going to end up Palkia between the attacks between Giratina and Palkia. Dialga is going to fall to the ground because that Steel type really does hurt it when you factor in the ground attacks and the fighting attacks. Then Palkia is going to pretty much either KO. It's going to be a double KO between him because of Destiny Bond with Giratina, or Giratina is going to outlast him. Now, is there a way that Palkia could win? Yeah, he could easily take out one or the other with our well-placed Roar Time. That's not in debate. But what is in debate is how often that happens. So I'm going to have to give it maybe out of 100 times, mind you. 20% of the time, I think Dialga will win. It's not impossible by any stretch of the means, but it's just it's because of how Roar Time works. It's a recharge effect, so it leaves them open. Palkia is going to win about 30% of the time, and then Giratina, I think, is going to take it about 50% of the time overall. And I say that because Giratina has just the versatility and the form change. It just makes it a wild card in the fight. And it's also Ghost and Levitate. Ghost protects it from the Aura Sphere. Levitate protects it from Earth's power, which is very important in these regards. So yeah, I'm going to say Giratina wins 50% of the time. Palkia wins about 30% of the time. Dialga wins about 20% of the time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the console below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Idea for who would win, put that in the console below too. I will write it down. I will get to it at some point in the channel. Next week is who would win that I have gotten a lot of requests for by the same person. And that is Danny Phantom versus Pac-Man. That should be interesting. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you folks next time.